Welcome to Jesus Leads Bible Journey. In this episode, we continue our walk through the wilderness with the people of Israel in Numbers, chapters 11 to 20. These chapters are filled with raw emotion, hard lessons, and powerful encounters with God. We see the people complain and long for Egypt. We hear Moses cry out, burdened by leadership and frustration. We witness God's justice and mercy side by side. There are miracles of provision, manna, quail, and water from a rock. There are rebellions from the people, from Miriam and Aaron, and even from Korah. And through it all, God's presence remains faithful, even when his people are not. This is a journey of testing, refining, and trust. Let's walk it together. Chapter 11, Complaints, Quail, and the Cry of a Weary Leader. The journey had just begun, but already the people complained. They cried out because of their hardships, and the Lord heard. His anger burned, and fire broke out at the edge of the camp. In mercy, Moses prayed, and the fire died down. That place was named Taberah, burning. But the people were not finished. They craved more than manna. They remembered Egypt: fish, cucumbers, melons, onions, garlic. They longed for what they once had, even in slavery. They rejected God's gift, manna, bread from heaven. They called it worthless. Moses heard their weeping, every family, at the entrance of every tent, and he broke. He cried out to the Lord, and not in anger, but in exhaustion. Why have you placed this burden on me? Did I give birth to these people? If this is how it will be, please kill me now. God answered, not with wrath, but with compassion. He told Moses to gather 70 elders, and he took some of the spirit that was on Moses and placed it on them. They prophesied as a sign that the burden was now shared. Yet two men, Eldad and Medad, were not at the tent. Still, the spirit rested on them too. They prophesied in the camp. Joshua was alarmed, but Moses said, "Would that all the Lord's people were prophets?" Then came the quail. God sent a wind, and quail rained down around the camp. Piled high, a day's journey in every direction, the people gathered quail all that day, all night, and all the next day. But while the meat was still in their mouths before it was even chewed, the Lord's anger rose, and he struck them with a deadly plague. They buried the dead in that place and called it Kibroth Hattaavah, the graves of craving. And from there, the people moved on. It reflects our complaints, our desires, our leadership wounds, and God's faithful presence. He listens, he provides, but he also disciplines. Will we crave Egypt or trust in the wilderness? Chapter 12, Jealousy, Judgment, and the Mercy of a Prophet. Miriam and Aaron began to speak against Moses. They questioned his authority because of the Cushite woman he had married, but underneath their words was something deeper: jealousy. They said, "Has the Lord spoken only through Moses? Hasn't he also spoken through us?" And the Lord heard. Now Moses was a humble man, more humble than anyone else on earth. God responded immediately. He called Moses, Aaron, and Miriam to the tent of meeting. There the Lord came down in a pillar of cloud. He stood at the entrance and summoned Aaron and Miriam forward. He said, "When I speak with a prophet, I use visions and dreams. But this is not so with my servant Moses. With him I speak face to face, clearly, without riddles. Why then were you not afraid to speak against him?" The Lord's anger burned, and when the cloud lifted, Miriam's skin was leprous, white as snow. Aaron turned toward her and cried out. He said to Moses, "Please, my Lord, do not hold this sin against us. Don't let her be like a stillborn baby." And Moses, the one they had spoken against, cried out to God, "Oh God, please heal her." The Lord answered, "If her father had spit in her face, would she not bear shame for 7 days? Let her be confined outside the camp for 7 days. Then she may be brought back." So Miriam was shut out for 7 days, and the people did not move forward until she was restored. Then the journey continued, from Hazeroth to the wilderness of Paran. Even the closest to us can fail us. But God sees every word spoken in secret, and He stands with the humble. Chapter 13, the 12 spies and a divided report. The Lord said to Moses, "Send men to explore the land of Canaan, the land I am giving to the Israelites." So 12 men were chosen, one from each tribe. Among them, Caleb from the tribe of Judah, and Hoshea, son of Nun, whom Moses renamed Joshua. Moses gave them instructions. "Go up into the hill country. See what the land is like. Are the people strong or weak? Are the towns fortified or open? Bring back fruit from the land." It was the season of first ripe grapes. The men went. They explored the land from the desert of Zin all the way to Rehob, near Labo Hamath. They saw giants, descendants of Anak. They passed through Hebron. They cut down a branch with a single cluster of grapes, so large it took 2 men to carry. They also brought pomegranates and figs. After 40 days, they returned. They stood before Moses, Aaron, and the whole assembly. And they gave their report. "The land flows with milk and honey. Here is its fruit. But the people are powerful. The cities are large and fortified. The descendants of Anak live there." Fear spread through the camp, but Caleb stood up. He said, "We should go up and take possession of the land. We can certainly do it." Yet the other 10 said, "No. We seem like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we look the same to them." Their fear became the people's fear, and faith began to fade. Will we see through the eyes of fear or through the eyes of faith? The promise is still the same, but the report we believe can change everything. Chapter 14, rebellion, intercession, and a lost generation. The people wept all through the night. They cried out in fear and grumbled against Moses and Aaron. "If only we had died in Egypt. Let's choose a new leader and go back." Moses and Aaron fell face down. Joshua and Caleb tore their clothes. They pleaded with the people, "The land is good, very good. If the Lord is pleased with us, He will give it to us. Don't rebel, don't be afraid." But the people picked up stones. They were ready to kill them. Then the glory of the Lord appeared at the tent of meeting. God said to Moses, "How long will these people treat me with contempt? After all my signs, they still refuse to trust me." God threatened to strike them down, to start again with Moses. But Moses interceded. "If you do this, the nations will say you failed. They've seen your power, your glory, your cloud by day, fire by night. Please let the Lord's power be shown in mercy." And Moses prayed, "The Lord is slow to anger, abounding in love, forgiving sin and rebellion, but He does not leave the guilty unpunished." The Lord answered, "I have forgiven them, as you asked, but not one of this generation will enter the land, not one who saw my glory and still rebelled, except Caleb and Joshua." To the rest God said, "You will wander the wilderness for 40 years, 1 year for each day the spies explored the land, until every corpse lies in the desert." The 10 spies who spread fear were struck down with a plague. The people mourned bitterly, and in defiance they rose early the next morning. They said, "We will go up now, just as the Lord promised." But Moses warned them, "The Lord is not with you. You will fall by the sword." Still they went, without the ark, without Moses, and the Amalekites and Canaanites came down and crushed them. Delayed obedience is still disobedience. Faith cannot be faked, and the cost of rebellion can echo for a generation. Chapter 15, offerings, unintentional sin, and a warning in the wilderness. After judgment came mercy. The Lord spoke to Moses, not in anger, but in instruction. He said, "When you enter the land I am giving you, bring offerings with your sacrifices, grain, oil, wine. Whether you are native-born or a foreigner, you will follow the same law." God reminded His people, the promise was still alive. They would enter the land. Their children would see it. He gave laws for unintentional sin, when the whole community failed without knowing, and for individuals who sinned unintentionally. But then came a sharp contrast. If anyone sins defiantly, they are to be cut off completely because they have despised the Lord's word. Then came a story, simple but sobering. A man was found gathering wood on the Sabbath. The people didn't know what to do. They brought him to Moses and to the Lord, and God said, "He must die." The community took him outside the camp and stoned him. The weight of obedience was real. Then the Lord spoke again. He told Moses, "Speak to the Israelites. Sew tassels on the corners of your garments. Add a blue cord to each one. When you see the tassels, remember my commands. Don't chase your own heart. Don't follow your own eyes. Be holy because I am holy." God's grace continues, even after failure. But His holiness never fades. The little choices still matter. And the symbols we carry should point us back to Him. Chapter 16, Korah's rebellion and the God who answers by fire. Then came Korah, a Levite, joined by Dathan, Abiram, and On, leaders from the tribe of Reuben. They gathered 250 prominent men, and together they confronted Moses and Aaron. They said, "You've gone too far. All the people are holy. Why do you set yourselves above the Lord's assembly?" Moses fell face down. He said to Korah, "Tomorrow the Lord will show who belongs to Him. Bring censers, burn incense. Let God choose." He also called Dathan and Abiram, but they refused to come. They said, "You brought us out of a land flowing with milk and honey, only to kill us in the wilderness." Moses was deeply grieved. He cried out to God, "Do not accept their offering." The next day, Korah and his men came with their censers, each carrying fire and incense before the Lord. Then the glory of the Lord appeared to all. God told Moses and Aaron, "Move away. I will consume them in an instant." But Moses and Aaron fell on their faces. "Oh God, will you be angry with the entire assembly when only one man sins?" God gave a command, "Tell the people to step away from the tents of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram." Moses warned the crowd, "If they die a natural death, the Lord has not sent me. But if the earth opens its mouth, then you will know they have treated the Lord with contempt." And at that very moment, the ground split apart. The earth opened its mouth and swallowed them alive, their families, their tents, everything they owned. Fire then came out from the Lord and consumed the 250 men offering incense. God told Moses, "Tell Eleazar, son of Aaron, to collect the censers. Hammer them into a covering for the altar as a sign to the people." But the rebellion wasn't over. The very next day, the people grumbled again. "You have killed the Lord's people." God's anger blazed once more, and a plague broke out among them. Moses told Aaron, "Run, take your censer, make atonement." Aaron ran through the camp. With incense and intercession, he stood between the living and the dead, and the plague stopped, but not before 14,700 people had died. A rebellion doesn't begin with weapons, it begins with pride. But when judgment falls, God still looks for someone to stand in the gap, to run with fire and mercy and stop the plague. Chapter 17, the staff that budded, proof of God's choice. After the fire, after the plague, the people were silent. But the Lord was not finished speaking. He told Moses, "Take one staff from each of the 12 tribes, write each leader's name on it. On the staff of Levi, write Aaron's name. Place them in the tent of meeting, before the ark. The man I choose, his staff will sprout." So Moses did exactly as the Lord commanded. 12 staffs lay before the Lord, lifeless wood, waiting for a sign. The next day, Moses entered the tent, and there it was. Aaron's staff of the tribe of Levi had not only sprouted, it had budded, blossomed, and produced ripe almonds. Life from something dead. Moses brought out the staffs. Each leader took his own, but Aaron's staff was returned to the ark as a lasting sign against rebellion, so that no one would grumble again and die. And the people said to Moses, "We will perish, we are lost. Anyone who comes near the tabernacle will die. Must we all die?" God doesn't just judge, he confirms. When he calls someone, he makes life bloom where there once was none, and his signs are never silent. Chapter 18, Sacred Duties and the Covenant of Salt. The Lord spoke to Aaron. He said, "You and your sons are responsible for the sanctuary, for the priesthood, for everything that concerns the altar and the most holy place. But the rest of the Levites, they will assist you. They are given to you as a gift, to serve under your authority." But God made it clear, "Only you and your sons shall approach the altar. Anyone else who comes near will die." This was no ordinary task. It was holy, weighty, sacred. Then God spoke a provision. He said, "I give you the sacred offerings, the grain, the sin offering, the guilt offering. Whatever is not burned belongs to you. The best of the oil, the finest wine, the first fruits of the harvest, all these are yours. Everything in Israel that is devoted to the Lord is now given to you." He called it a covenant of salt, a lasting covenant, pure, preserved, eternal. But the Levites too had their portion. In exchange for their service at the tent of meeting, they were given the tithes of Israel, and in return, they were to tithe 1/10 of what they received, giving the best part back to the Lord. No inheritance of land would be theirs. "I am your portion," said the Lord. "I am your inheritance." Serving God is both an honor and a holy burden. He provides for those who serve him, but their true reward is not what they receive, it is him. Chapter 19, The Red Heifer and the Water of Purification. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron. He gave a law, unusual, sacred, mysterious. "Bring a red heifer, without defect, never yoked. Take it outside the camp and slaughter it in the presence of the priest. Then the priest would take its blood, sprinkle it 7 times toward the front of the tent of meeting, and burn the entire animal, hide, flesh, blood, and dung. Into the fire, they would throw cedar wood, hyssop, and scarlet yarn, a holy mixture. Then someone clean would gather the ashes and place them outside the camp in a ceremonially clean place. There they would be stored to make water of purification for cleansing from sin. But all who took part in this ritual, the one who slaughtered, the one who burned, the one who gathered, would become unclean until evening. Purity came at a price, and when anyone became unclean, by touching a dead body, by being near a grave, by entering a tent where someone had died, they were to be sprinkled with the water of purification on the 3rd day and the 7th day. If they refused, they were cut off from Israel, because the uncleanness of death could not live in the presence of the living God. This was not just law, it was symbol, a shadow of a greater cleansing to come. That even in death, God makes a way for the defiled to be clean, and that cleansing must come from blood, from fire, and from water that flows with mercy. Chapter 20, Loss, Disobedience, and a Journey. Denied, the wilderness was dry, the hearts of the people dry still. They came to Kadesh. There Miriam died and was buried. But the thirst returned. The people quarreled with Moses. "Why did you bring us here, into this wilderness, to die? Why did you bring us out of Egypt?" They had no water, no crops, only memories of what was and fear of what would come. Moses and Aaron fell face down at the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord appeared. God said, "Take the staff, speak to the rock before their eyes, and water will pour out." But Moses was angry. He stood before the assembly and shouted, "Listen, you rebels! Must we bring water out of this rock?" Then he struck the rock twice, and water did come out, enough for the people and for their livestock. But the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Because you did not trust me enough to honor me as holy before the people, you will not bring this assembly into the land I give them." That place was called Meribah. quarreling, because there the people argued with the Lord, and Moses failed to honor him. Later, Moses sent messengers to the king of Edom, asking for passage through their land. "We will stay on the road," they promised. "We will not drink your water." But Edom refused and came out with a large and powerful army. So Israel turned away. Then came another loss. The Lord said to Moses, "Aaron's time has come. Take him up Mount Hor and remove his priestly garments. Place them on his son Eleazar." And there, on the mountain, Aaron died. The people mourned for him 30 days. Even the greatest can fall. Even the faithful feel grief. And yet God's plan moves forward. One step, one sorrow, one lesson at a time. Thank you for joining us on this chapter of the journey. If this message stirred your heart, share it with someone who needs encouragement in the wilderness. And don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss what God reveals next in His Word. See you in the next episode as we continue walking with Him through the book of Numbers.